Part 114. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1131. Update the latest chapter of the Wanchaiwu View I created as soon as possible. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. As we predicted, our intelligence was accurate. Their violent reaction now is just to let us retreat from the difficulties and return to a state of balance. Then they can rest assured to seize the world's true life. Tun Jagui said with a strange look in his eyes. We can play it off and make them think we're following their plan. Abyss smiled slyly. I really look forward to what kind of expression they will have when they see us, Juexi said with strange eyes. An undercurrent is constantly unfolding in the Holy Land and the Weird Continent. They each have their own plans, but in the end it just depends on who is more skilled. The Central Continent is a huge illusory land. Figures appear here one after another, and they are all projections. The demon gods of the Central Continent, the will of all beings in the land of all beings, the members of the Superworld Alliance in the Void, and the independent Lin Yi. A serious meeting is taking place. Lin Yi, who was alone, said slowly. The current situation is dangerous. This time we took action and destroyed Ayajin, which means one thing. The rulers of these holy lands are not indestructible. But this time we did it based on all our strength, and the opponent only came 3. It can be predicted that after suffering such a big loss, there won't be 3 next time. Unless we can find more places of life that have the true power to unite the world and unite quickly. Otherwise, the next time may be your death. Now I have a proposal. My House of Everything has the wonderful power to merge the entire place of life. Do you want to integrate into my House of all things? In this way, the power of all the living places can be gathered in one place. After hearing Lin Yi's words, the will of all living beings said slowly. Your House of all things is a strange creation. Once it is fused, it will be equivalent to the place of life turning into a strange place. Although your power can suppress weirdness, whether true life exists or not is a matter of debate. The place of life is no longer decided by sentient beings. The beings in the land of all beings disagree. Countless thoughts from the Trans-World Alliance came together, we don't agree either. In the Central Continent, the demon gods represented by the god Emperor Dragon also shook their heads. No. Seeing that they all disagreed, Lin Yi shrugged slightly and said, forget it if you don't agree. So what do you want to do next to deal with the coming danger? The divine Emperor Dragon on the side narrowed his eyes and showed a hint of solemnity. I have an idea. First of all our living places converge on one coordinate. Secondly, we move upstream of the endless river. Use the power of your true life, seize the endless river, and move towards the endless river. This might allow us to avoid the Holy Land. The end of the endless river is the eternal sea, and there is the Holy Land there. We'd better give up on the spiritual level. The Holy Land is not that simple. And what is the upper reaches of the endless river? No one knows. There is also hope that there will be solutions to these myriad problems. And what exactly this endless river is worth pondering. The words of the divine Emperor Dragon attracted everyone's attention, and a glimmer of light appeared in their eyes. Yes, why is there such a thing as an endless river? There must be a reason for this. Upstream, there may be all the secrets. At this time, Lin Yi also felt a little surprised. He did not expect that God Emperor Dragon had this plan. Going upriver? Maybe there really is a way out. God Emperor Long said slowly, it is better to choose a day than to hit it. Since everyone has no objections, let's set off directly to avoid wasting time. Good, the members of the will of all beings and the Void Trans-World Alliance nodded. Lin Yi naturally would not refuse and nodded in agreement. You guys go ahead. I want to continue looking for the place of life. I hope I can't leave it at both ends. After saying that, his eyes showed a trace of solemnity, and his body flashed and disappeared here. Next, the three major life places began to operate. The terrifying power opened two huge holes, and the void and the land of living beings were passing through the holes and descending near the central continent. The Wanchai View appeared in the empty, and Lin Yi and Sakuragong surely watched the next scene quietly. Mighty power rose from the three places of life, and the majestic power was entangled and merged into one. Countless powers are like chains, connecting the three places of life. Visible to the naked eye, three huge balls of light are closely connected, and the brilliance of three colors diffuses from the land of life, sweeping towards the endless broken river. It was easy to catch the endless river that kept pouring black water into the sky. The three-color radiance, like a chain, pulls the three huge places of life and moves towards the upper reaches of the endless river. Their speed changes from slow to faster and faster, as if accelerating. We crashed into a wonderful level, where we could clearly see the endless river. The long river is vast and boundless, extending to far and unfathomable places. The radiance of the land of life grabbed the outer wall of the long river. You can see that the three-color radiance is like three arms. By grabbing the outer wall of the long river and moving continuously, the end of the radiance hangs the land of life. Although it looks ugly and not beautiful at all, it is very effective. At this time, the level outside the endless long river seems to be composed of billions of time and space torrents, an endless chaos. The three combined lands of life, in the process of climbing upstream, constantly collide with the huge torrent. But at this time, the land of life exudes infinite power, easily crushing all the forces that block them. The power of the true destiny is irresistible, and those who block it are invincible. Lin Yi looked at the three lands of life that were far away and shook his head slightly. I hope everything goes well next. With a thought, the Wanchai disappeared in the air, and when it appeared again, it had come to a destroyed weird place. There were ashes everywhere here, and there was nothing else. It's just that countless mists began to appear here again, but it hasn't made the whole weird place alive again. The place where the Wanchai appeared was at the entrance of the abyss leading to the strange ocean. Looking at the countless strange arms below, they fell into madness with the arrival of the Wanchai. Arms one by one, the power to destroy everything burst out and swept towards Lin Yi. Facing this vast and infinite attack, a radiance composed of eternal nature burst out from the Wanchai. Infinite spiritual waves covered these eternal nature radiances and blasted towards the abyss passage. The vast and infinite light tore everything apart, and the abyss arms were just a mantis trying to stop a chariot. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1132. The latest chapter of the Wanchai I Created is updated the fastest. Endless power poured down, and arms were shattered in an instant. Countless strange essences were exposed, swept by the spiritual waves in an instant, integrated into the deepest part of Lin Yi's mind, and then transformed. The huge light continued to go down to the abyss, and everything was visible to the naked eye, collapsing. I don't know how long the light has been falling, and finally penetrated the entire abyss and blasted into the strange ocean. And the entire strange abyss was completely opened. However, the Wanchai did not enter it, but appeared in another strange place with a flash. He wanted to remove the next abyss channel, and each abyss channel could also provide him with a large amount of strange essence. Now he has to do his best to expand the upper limit of the spiritual wave crazily and start preparing for the war against the Holy Land. His clones, one of which is still monitoring somewhere in the strange continent. One is looking for a place of life in the strange ocean. One has returned to the original body after completing the fusion of the marine life place and the Wanchai. After destroying 3 abyssal passages in succession, the Wanchai finally began to head towards the weird ocean. He was going to start cleaning up the countless weird beings in the weird ocean, especially the 2 weird corpses that were suspected to be at the sub-real level. After a while, the Wanchai arrived at the weird ocean. Its arrival seemed to have cast a bait in the ocean, and countless weird beings were attracted and rushed towards the Wanchai frantically. Of course, this was also because the Wanchaiwa deliberately released countless life breaths in the internal marine life land. The pot exploded, and countless terrifying beings surged. They were densely packed and crowded with each other, and soon filled the area of countless coordinate points around. The next moment, infinite eternal nature brilliance burst out. Along with the brilliance of the spiritual wave, it swept around and eliminated all the countless weird beings that were attracted. Countless weird essences were swept away in an instant and harvested by Lin Yi. In the Wanchaiwu, Lin Yi felt the harvested weird essence, and a trace of joy appeared in his eyes. His weird essence has reached 50,000 times before the destruction of the weird land. And this number will continue to rise. As long as there are weird things, it will never end. Weird things are really my lucky star. If I can absorb all the spiritual residues harvested for countless years, I will definitely be able to do it. Even if I can't condense the infinite true destiny, there is probably no existence that can kill me. Fortunately, I have integrated the land of marine life, and countless eternal properties and the origin of the world have been driven. Under the power of spiritual waves, I have the power to destroy the world. In this case, it is only a matter of time to level the true foundation of the Holy Land group. This is a good thing. At this moment, Lin Yi's face suddenly condensed, and the clone of the weird continent transmitted the information to his original body. 10 terrifying weird things left the weird continent. They were heading towards a direction in the weird ocean, as if they wanted to go somewhere. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi made a quick decision and asked the clone to follow them. He must figure out what these weird things are going to do. These weird things are all filled with weird essences similar to spiritual waves, as well as the breath of true destiny. Are they real people or sub-real people from the weird continent? What do you want to do with such a large force? Countless thoughts flashed through his mind, and he felt that this should have a special meaning. The main body continued to harvest the weird, and the clone closely followed the weirds that left. He also passed this news to the president through a note. The president who got the news will naturally inform the superworld alliances. A huge change is brewing, which will affect countless people. The Holy Land, Qiyao and Fangxing have returned. And the moment they returned, they felt dozens of eyes. The two of them looked gloomy, and a wisp of thought had appeared in the dark land. Here, the thoughts of the group of real people are gathered here. Deja looked at them with a serious face and said, "What did you encounter on this trip? How did Genji fall?" Qiyao and Fangxing looked at each other, and only heard Qiyao say, "The situation is like this." After the voice fell, he raised his hand and waved, and a picture appeared in the sky of this dark land. Everyone looked at the content of the screen. The screen passed very quickly, almost at 100 times the speed. But for the group of real people, this speed had no effect. In just a few minutes, they had watched the whole battle process. Deja narrowed his eyes slightly, and the source of the power that killed Genji at the end made him feel a little familiar. It seems that it should be him. He is really restless. But since his whereabouts have been revealed, it will be easy to deal with. Not only him, but other real people and Yajin also noticed the source of this power. Chawang said in disbelief, "Is this the supreme true destiny? It should be the supreme true destiny. Otherwise it would never have such power." Hainu said in a low voice, with a trace of solemnity in her eyes. Many real people were shocked in their hearts. If they could catch the person behind the supreme true destiny, if they can figure out the secret of condensing the supreme true destiny, they will undoubtedly go one step further in condensing the supreme true destiny in the future. In an instant, many real people had plans in their hearts. Without further delay, start mobilizing people. I'm afraid 6 Yajin are not enough, at least 8 or more. Daoji made a decisive decision and no one objected. The group of real people quickly reached an agreement and selected 10 Yajin. 6 of them came from Genren's command, and only 4 were from the Yajin alliance. This time, Fangxing once again joined the team. They turned into 10 streams of light and rushed towards the distant sea of eternity. At this time, swallowing the world, one of the 5 weirdos in Weird Continent, felt something in his heart. Everyone's situation has changed. 10 Yajin have left the Holy Land. We didn't send enough people. The 10 Yajin strong men are not that easy to solve. It won't work even if our number is twice as many as theirs. At least we can't kill them in a short time. At that time, it will attract the attention of the Holy Land and attack the Weird Continent with all its strength. Moxian smiled slyly. In that case, why not all of us attack? Each of them left a clone to deceive those guys in the Holy Land. Annihilate those 10 Yajin with all your strength. The Holy Land will be severely damaged by then, and the reason will not even be found out in a short time. We can then return calmly. Even if they find out the truth in the end, they can only swallow their anger. The devil is cunning and vicious, and he will overturn the structure that has been established for countless years with one move. Best of all, it's not impossible. Because those guys in the Holy Land don't know that we already knows all their plans. Under such circumstances, it is normal for Holy Land to fall into a trap. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1133. The latest chapter of the Wanchai I Created is updated the fastest. The devouring world ghost nodded and said, "This plan is quite feasible. Once completed, we will have a huge advantage. The Holy Land will definitely shrink, and then we will fully launch our True Fate network to replace the True Fate network of the Holy Land and exert influence on the Eternal Sea. It is not impossible to reverse life and death and fulfill the long-cherished wishes of countless dead people." The 5 ghosts looked at each other and revealed a hint of ruthlessness. Yes. A group of ghosts and strange things, do it as soon as they think of it. A clone differentiated from their bodies and replaced the original body. Their original body quietly left the Weird Continent. With the existence of the clone, they continued to release false information, showing that they still exist on the Weird Continent. All these changes are so rapid. In the Eternal Sea, 10 sub-true beings exist. Their speed is so fast that they can reach countless coordinates in a flash. They are heading towards an endless river quickly. The endless river comes from an unknown source and converges in the Eternal Sea. But there are many endless rivers, and each one seems to be connected to a place of life. Under the guidance of the stars, they have come to the endless river leading to the central continent. They go upstream, and the powerful spiritual power allows them to pierce into the torrent like a sharp knife. Their figures are like flowing light, moving towards the direction of the central continent at a very fast speed. At this time, 10 figures appeared outside the abyss passage leading to the central continent. They are all strange on the strange continent. The leader is a monster in non-human form. His upper body has countless tentacles, his lower body is the body of a beast, and his tail has a twisted head. A thought is transmitted from his body to the surroundings. This is the passage to the strange land of the central continent. In the past, because the central continent was so powerful, it had a strong repulsive effect on the strange land. As a result, our invasion of the central continent was not smooth. Now that the true destiny of the world has condensed, the strange land has been excluded and completely separated from the land of life. We can only reach the empty through here. After reaching the empty, we will look for traces of the land of life. Okay. The other aliens nodded one after another. 10 figures rushed into the abyss passage, and behind them, a figure slowly appeared and quickly followed in. When these 10 aliens arrived at the strange land, they were surprised to find something. What's going on? The car was destroyed. The strange essence of this strange land has been swept away. It seems that some power is devouring the strange essence. Seeing this scene, they immediately realized that something was wrong. The alien with countless tentacles on his upper body said coldly, "Don't worry about these now, our goal is the central continent." The other aliens were no longer entangled after hearing this, but they were already alert in their hearts. The destruction of the strange land must have a unique reason. 10 black shadows flew towards the sky above the strange land, passed through countless barriers, and arrived at a pure empty. After coming out, they saw the endless river broken in the empty. The tentacle alien said with some surprise, "The endless river was torn apart, this is incredible. Is this the power of the world's true destiny? The central continent seems to have disappeared. It's up to you next to you, Tuomu." The tentacle alien looked at an alien next to him. It is an alien made up of countless eyes, a huge dense sphere, with only thick arms growing on both sides. This alien full of eyes echoed with cold thoughts. "Don't worry, leave it to me." The next moment, countless cold lights appeared in his eyes. This light seemed to pierce the sky, looking at the coordinates in all directions in the sky. A few minutes later, he said slowly, "They went upstream. Those guys from the Holy Land are coming from the downstream. But there are 10 Yajin coming from the Holy Land instead of 6. We have no chance of winning." "What? There are 10? Did you see it right?" "Tuomu. For countless eras, I have never seen anything wrong. What should we do now?" The eyes of all the aliens fell on the leader of the aliens, Kishan. Kishan thought for a while, "Let's wait first. Hide, wait for Yajin from the Holy Land to go over, and then we will follow quietly. Wait until they go to war with those lands of life, and then we will surround them from behind. Unite those guys from the land of life and try to keep them. Kill as many as you can." "This plan is feasible," Tuomu said slowly. With a plan and a goal, they quickly started to act. In this empty area, there was nothing but countless black water rushing down from the broken endless river. At this time, these anomalies were hidden in the river and disappeared. After an unknown period of time, the figures of 10 Yajin appeared from the broken part of the endless river. After they appeared, the other 9 people looked at the stars. What happened? Why did the land of life disappear? Fangxing was also slightly stunned when he saw this scene, and then said with a gloomy face, "These guys must have sensed the danger and ran away in advance. We have to find out where they went." A man dressed in red robes said among the group of real people, "Let me do it." After the voice fell, countless mysterious patterns flashed in his eyes, and a wonderful light bloomed. This light quickly swept towards this void, searching for traces and breath. Many pictures appeared in front of him, and one picture was pitch black, and he couldn't see anything, which made him frown involuntarily. There are not many means to avoid his innate ability. But soon he found his target, saw 3 huge life places, and rushed into the distant upper reaches of the endless river. Found them, they went to the upper reaches of the endless river. Hearing this, Fangxing frowned slightly. The upper reaches of the endless river are a very far place. There were strong men from the Holy Land who had explored it before, but no one had ever reached the real upper reaches. The endless river seemed endless. "Let's go, catch up quickly, and don't let them get too far. The endless river, it's not easy to find the source." Fangxing's thoughts said gloomily. As soon as the voice fell, 10 Yajin had already headed upstream of the endless river. However, the Yajin in the red robe quietly passed some information to the hearts of other Yajin. Watching these Yajin leave, a group of aliens appeared from the Black River. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1134. I only heard Duomu say, "I didn't expect Hunghua to come out too. His power is very special. Our breath is very likely to be captured by him, although we have covered it up. At most, he just suspected that we had the same power as him to cover up the traces. He can't be sure it's us." Most people think it's the surveillance power left by the 3 life places. Let's go, don't waste time, follow them first. The upper reaches of the endless river, that is a nearly infinite journey. The next step is to see when they can catch up. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow circled M. After the 10 people made a decision, they quickly followed. In a place they couldn't see, a figure also followed them. It was Lin Yi's clone. He also turned into a figure and quickly followed. The strange ocean, where the Wanchaiwu is located. Lin Yi felt the information from the clone and frowned slightly. I didn't expect that the Holy Land came so quickly, and there were 10 sub-reals. The weird continent also sent out 10 sub-real level weirds. Are they trying to ambush the sub-reals? At this time, Lin Yi seemed to have noticed the problem, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. This is a good thing. Although they have some kind of balanced agreement, it seems that it is not ironclad. Then there is room for operation. This news must be notified to them as soon as possible. Otherwise, if they are surrounded without knowing it, it will be a dead end. The information appeared silently in front of the chairman of the Void Fate Committee along with the note. The chairman looked at the note in front of him and had long been accustomed to it. But when he saw the content on it, he was still shocked. These are 10 sub-reals. 10 sub-real level weirds. This is too dangerous. Without any hesitation, he immediately contacted the Superworld Alliance, the Central Continent and the Land of all living things. Now they are a community of destiny. If they really encounter an irresistible disaster, none of them can escape. Without mentioning the plan for the 3 lifelands, Lin Yi at this time began to continue harvesting the weirdness in the weird ocean. He exuded a majestic breath of life, attracting the weirdness to come one after another and become his nourishment. At this moment, he always urged the true destiny, exuding a majestic power, covering the entire Wanchaiwu without any damage. At the same time, under the wrapping of the spiritual wave power, the power of eternal nature was exerted to the extreme, destroying all the weirdness coming towards him. At all times, his spiritual wave limit was constantly increasing, destroying everything in front of him. This growth of power made him very happy, the road was clear, and the weird ocean was his goal. At this moment, he suddenly frowned, and the true destiny solution was always in operation. He saw dozens of terrifying figures in the distance, coming in this direction. In an instant, he realized what it was. Have all the weirdness in the weird continent been dispatched? Why? In an instant, his heart was shaken. The power of the Wanchaiwu was activated and disappeared here. Appeared at a coordinate point in the air. In the strange ocean, he left a clone, which quietly turned into a strange smoke and merged into the strange fog around him. Dozens of strange creatures crossed this area and rushed directly into the abyss channel. Although they also saw the destroyed channel, they didn't care. Lin Yi's clone looked at the strange creatures rushing into the channel, and suddenly an idea came to his mind. Maybe this is an opportunity. His eyes turned to look at the strange continent, which is comparable to the Holy Land. There are endless strange things, and these strange things are extremely powerful. It is far from being comparable to ordinary life places. Since these guys are gone, if I want to destroy the strange continent as a whole, let the Holy Land break through the strange continent, then these strange things may have the ultimate conflict with the Holy Land. This may be an opportunity. Thinking of this, countless pictures and information flashed in his eyes. He took a deep breath, and a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. Wealth and honor are sought in danger, you can give it a try. And once the strange continent is destroyed, my spiritual wave limit will increase to an astonishing level again. It is not impossible to be comparable to those old masters, or even surpass their foundation. With the decision in mind, Lin Yi decided to do it. The Wanchaiwu appeared in the strange ocean again, and the clone returned to the main body. At this time, the Wanchaiwu, like a fortress floating in the strange ocean, began to move rapidly towards the direction of the strange continent. But first, he had two goals. Under the power of the boundless true destiny, the speed of the Wanchaiwu was also incalculable. In a blink of an eye, a long time passed, and the Wanchaiwu came to a huge corpse. This corpse could not be seen at the end at a glance, it was extremely huge, and it was filled with terrifying strange fluctuations. A vast torrent of eternal nature, wrapped in spiritual waves, swarmed out of the Wanchaiwu. The terrifying power swept over this corpse. Although this corpse was vast and boundless, it was still worn out like tofu in the face of the eternal nature driven by the entire land of life. A trace of weird essence was drawn into the spiritual wave. Lin Yi once again felt the joy of the rapid increase in the upper limit of the spiritual wave, and boundless power rose from his heart. I don't know how long it took, the huge corpse was completely wiped out. All the weirdness born in the corpse cannot escape the cleansing, and death is their only ending. Lin Yi's upper limit of the spiritual wave has doubled again on the basis of just now. This terrifying growth made him happy. Then, there was a second weird corpse suspected to be at the sub-real level, which was also harvested by him. When he really harvested two sub-real level weird corpses, he began to move towards the weird continent. The war that alternated day and night there did not end. Although the weird bodies left, the war was still in full swing. However, at this time in the Holy Land, many real people and sub-real maintained a certain deliberate balance. In the face of weird attacks, they suppressed them with all their strength, but maintained a limit. It seemed that they were not going to stimulate the weird continent more and complete their plans calmly. After the initial test, the strange side maintained its original intensity. At this time, the strange continent only had those strange clones. They did not dare to launch a more intense attack rashly, so as to avoid the counter-attack of the Holy Land, which would eventually lead to the Holy Land seeing through the true situation of the strange continent. Both sides had their own ulterior motives and fell into a brief restraint. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1135. However, the Holy Land obviously fell below, and they were deceived by the weirds. At this time, the Wanchi house floated from the outside of the weird continent. In the Wanchi house, Lin Yi's eyes saw through everything, and the brilliance of the true destiny directly saw through the darkness that enveloped the weird continent. His eyes swept over one figure after another that exuded the breath of true destiny and sub-true. These existences are just a clone, and their power has an upper limit, which is only comparable to a strong man at the fourth level of the mind. However, they can use the power of true destiny to a certain extent, and are stronger than the strong man of the ultimate mind, and are countless times weaker than sub-true. Purely for show, the clone exists to avoid the eyes of the strong men of the Holy Land. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. After confirming that there are no sub-true and real people on the weird continent, Lin Yi showed a smile on his face. Very good. Next is my big show. But I need a chance. In the empty space where the central continent was originally located, figures rushed out of the strange land. Led by the 5 great weirds, they quickly determined the direction after entering the empty space. They began to move quickly towards the upper reaches of the endless river. This information has also been delivered to the president. The 3 lifelands have already known the existence that is tracking them from behind. If something goes wrong, the entire lifeland will be destroyed. Especially the weirdness of the dispatch made them feel sincerely shocked. They have guessed the plan of these weird continent strongmen to ambush the 10 subreals of the Holy Land. At this time, on the central continent, the will of all living beings, the projections of the members of the Superworld Alliance, the God Emperor Dragon and the demons of the Purification Dynasty all fell into silence. What should we do now? None of those beings chasing behind us can be provoked by us. One mistake and we will all die. The operator Huang expressed his concerns on behalf of the Superworld Alliance. At this moment, As a chess piece buried by the Holy Land, he felt a huge pressure. Because almost all the weirds were dispatched, dozens of sub-real level beings. Once they solved the sub-real of the Holy Land, he would not be able to escape. He no longer had the mood to sit back and relax, the fire had already burned on him. Maybe we can do this. How to do it? All eyes fell on the will of all living beings. Unite the weak to fight the strong. When the 10 sub-reals arrive, we will tell them the news of the weird's dispatch. At that time, as long as they are not stupid, they will know to unite with us. Then, they will definitely find a way to pass the information back to the Holy Land. What we have to do next is to resist the weird beings chasing them together with them. Persist until the Holy Land reinforcements arrive, and then escape to heaven in the battle between the two sides. This is the only way. What if they can't pass the information back? The operator Huang said anxiously. As a chess piece of the Holy Land, he knew very well how far away the Land of Life was from the Holy Land. The transmission of information is not that simple, and it has to go through countless time and space and distortions. At this time, the God Emperor Dragon slowly spoke, "The strategy of the will of all living beings is good, and it is indeed our only way out. But we can't put all our hopes on Yajin. If they don't have time to pass on the information, the consequences will be disastrous. We have to find a way to let the Yajin and the real people in the Holy Land know the changes in the weird continent. Only in this way will they come to support early. So maybe we can tell Mr. Lin Yilin of the Wanchaiwu. Only he can easily convey all kinds of information, he is our last hope." So far, almost all of the large amount of information we have received has been conveyed by him. It is certain that he may have his own vision and information in the Holy Land or the Weird Nest. This vision may allow him to convey information to the Holy Land group of real people. The will of all living beings and the members of the Super World Alliance were moved when they heard this. We can try this. But Mr. Lin from the Wanchaiwu must have his own plans. He passed these messages to us just to let us know how many dangers are behind us. It may not be easy to persuade him to pass the message to the Holy Land. Maybe he has his own plans. No one in this world is a fool. They will think deeply about the meaning behind any information. Especially the free information from Lin Yi, there must be some special meaning in it, which they don't know. Try it first. At worst, I will bleed a little more and make a deal. The thoughts of the Emperor Dragon echoed slowly. Suddenly, Lin Yi, who was outside the weird continent, had a thought in his heart. A note appeared in front of him. Seeing the content on the note, he couldn't help but smile. So that's it? Do they want to drive away the wolves and chase away the tigers? The strategy is not bad. It's just right to go with the flow. But maybe I can make a profit from them. Thinking of this, he wrote a reply on the note. I need trillions of lives and 1/10 of the spiritual essence. I don't need to kill them to get the spiritual origin. The note disappeared again, and appeared in front of him again about a few minutes later. His conditions had been agreed, and their signatures were also written down. With a slight smile, the note ignited without wind. The Wanchi house shook slightly, and the next moment it burst into infinite brilliance, under the power of the boundless true destiny. A huge terrifying torrent swarmed out from the outer shell of the weird continent. The violent torrent fell directly on the weird continent. This torrent covered the power of the true destiny and the brilliance of the spiritual wave. Everywhere it passed, all the strange existences would be washed into ashes in an instant. The sudden attack instantly attracted the attention of the entire weird continent. Among them, the clones of Weird Enyi were the first to notice the changes here. What's going on? Someone is attacking the continent. Who? Questions echoed in the minds of Weird Enyi, and then these Weird Enyi clones responded. Their power instantly connected to the network that permeated the entire weird continent. Countless strange powers emanated from the weird, rushing into the network like a torrent. The next moment, a majestic force appeared over the weird continent, and a huge black palm grabbed towards a torrent. This palm was filled with countless strange fluctuations, which were the true power of the weird. Any form of existence that entered it would be affected by this power. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1136. Update the latest chapter of the Wanchai View I created as soon as possible. This power seems to be limited by the absence of their bodies, so there is a certain limit to the power. The violent giant palm and the endless torrent collided together. Then something happened that shocked them. The huge torrent passed through their giant palms without any obstruction. Wherever the torrent passes, any weird thing caught in it will be drowned in an instant. At this time, Lin Yi didn't care about the consumption of spiritual waves at all. Every moment, his upper limit of spiritual waves was increasing, and the consumption of spiritual waves was also recovering. Even in order to resist this giant hand that seemed to be his real life, his consumption of spiritual waves was like a torrent, and he could still sustain it. The strange changes immediately attracted the attention of the Holy Land. In just a few breaths, 1% of the strange continent was completely covered. A large number of weirdos were destroyed and eliminated. There are also problems with the passageways in this area. Wei Wei was swept into this torrent, leaving only the Holy Land warriors outside the passage. At the same time, Kun Zhen from the Holy Land seemed to have noticed something was wrong in the weird continent. The next moment, the huge true life network brightened up, and a huge radiance shone into the strange continent in an instant. Then, a picture appeared in Kunzhen's eyes. Weirdness is being suppressed by a huge force, but the strength of weird continent's counterattack is unexpectedly weak. Daoji's thoughts moved and he immediately noticed something. No, all these weird people have left weird continent. They went after Fangxing and the others. I want to defeat them one by one, and then come back to kill the Holy Land. We've fallen into a trap. These words immediately woke up all the real people and Yajin, and their faces changed color in shock. We can't give them a chance, they want to rebel against life and death. Once the stars and the others fall, the Holy Land will be at an absolute disadvantage. Life and death will be turned upside down and everything will be rewritten. It absolutely cannot be allowed. We will catch up immediately. The Xuanhuan clan was the most angry and roared angrily. The other real people and Yajin also looked nervous. The internal conflicts in the Holy Land will remain the same no matter how they change, and will not easily lead to a split. But the dispute between Holy Land and weirdness is not a concept at all. As long as he seizes the opportunity, Wei Wei feels that he will kill the Holy Land without hesitation. The Holy Land is the same for weirdness. It was at this point that they made a quick decision. Dozens of torrents rushed directly out of the boundaries of the Holy Land and headed towards the Eternal Sea. Likewise, they only left their clones and an order in place. Attack the strange continent with all our strength and completely destroy the source of the strangeness. As the order was issued, the True Destiny Network began to emit rays of True Destiny's light, blessing all races on the entire continent. Although the real people and Yajin at this time, with the departure of their main bodies, their power has been greatly reduced. But the true power blessed on these Holy Land warriors can still enhance their combat power. A torrent of troops rushed towards the hole connecting the strange continent and the Holy Land. The war between the Holy Land and Wei continent has begun, and at this time Wei is still facing the impact of Lin Yi's power. The infinite eternal nature turns into a torrent, sweeping everything. Especially with the help of Lingbo, there is a huge suppression of weirdness. The spirit wave's ability to eliminate weirdness has never weakened at all. The continent seems to be being cleaned up, bit by bit being eaten away by the torrent of eternal nature. The area shrouded by the torrent has no lack of weirdness comparable to the first, second, third and fourth spiritual levels. But their power is always just weird power and weird essence. As long as they encounter spiritual waves, they will be easily disintegrated and completely restrained. Coupled with the impetus of the eternal nature, it is even more devastating and has no resistance. The violent power surged crazily, and after a few more breaths, the scope of the torrent's invasion doubled. 2% of the strange continent has been completely wiped out. Even the strange continent itself was completely reduced to powder and ashes by the power of this torrent. The strange essence contained in it was also swept away by an inexplicable force. At this time, Lin Yi couldn't believe it. The upper limit of spiritual waves in his body was rising at an unimaginable speed, rising by 10% every second. Of course, as time goes by, the climbing ratio will continue to decrease because the overall upper limit increases. But even so, this kind of growth left Lin Yi in awe. The strange essence deposited on the strange continent comes from the remnants of countless lives being harvested. That means the number of sands in the Ganges, the immeasurable residue of life, the last remnants of countless lives. Now these remnants of life are being absorbed and transformed by him, and the last traces of countless lives seem to be being cleaned away. Lin Yi's mood was a little complicated, although it was all in his plan. But erasing the last traces of countless lives is not a happy thing. Their existence has indeed brought countless disasters and led to the destruction of countless worlds. The residues themselves have transformed from victims to perpetrators. The warriors of the eternal Holy Land will also be sucked into the torrent during their fight with the weird. However, they were caught in it, but they would not die easily. They were covered with the power of true destiny, which could well resist the torrent of eternal nature. The spiritual waves could not suppress them either, so they could resist the torrent better than the weird. But when their true destiny power was exhausted, they would also be destroyed in the torrent. The true destiny also needs power to support it in order to play a role. This is because Lin Yi did not deliberately target them, and did not use the power of true destiny to rush the power of the torrent into their bodies. He just used the flushing power of the torrent itself to destroy everything. The spiritual waves were only incidental to destroy the weird. The war went on very quickly, and the weird was completely at a disadvantage under the two-sided attack. The clones of the weird and the weird were extremely angry, mobilizing the network on the weird continent, gathering infinite weird power. But they still could not resist the erosion of the huge torrent on the entire continent. The boundless true destiny prevented the torrent from colliding head-on with the weird giant palm. The strongest power of the entire weird continent was gathered, but it could not have any effect on the torrent, and the whole situation would inevitably collapse. The ordinary weird had completely become the victim of the torrent and became Lin Yi's food. More than 10 minutes passed in the blink of an eye, and the destruction continued. 10% of the entire weird continent had been submerged by the torrent and turned into ashes. This kind of destruction was unprecedentedly huge. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1137. Update the latest chapter of the Wanchai View I created as soon as possible. There are billions of weird things about death, and the weirdness at the lowest level is at the first level of the mind. Killing any monster of this level is comparable to the soul contained in an entire world. Lin Yi's spiritual wave was growing at an unimaginable speed. The weird continent is really my blessed land. I will accept the remnants of countless lives. I will accept your resentment. If I have the chance in the future, I will avenge you. A thought flashed through Lin Yi's mind. At this time, many strange beings far away in the endless river have already felt the message from the clone. Their expressions suddenly changed. What's going on? Why would someone attack weird continent? Who is that person? That kind of power seems to be completely restrained and weird. Tun Jigui said with a look of disbelief on his face. What should we do now? Return to the mainland to help, or what? Mo Shinjui shook his head when he heard this. It's not necessary, It's too late to rush back now. Let's follow the original plan and kill those Tenyajin first. The Holy Land Kunzhen have discovered the problem, and they will catch up sooner or later. The mainland can only give up. The worst we can do is rebuild the weird continent after we solve the Holy Land. Even if we fail, as long as we are still here, it will only be a matter of time before we reshape the continent. There is no need to turn around and rescue people for this matter. Even if those weird people die, they will continue to appear in the future. Amozingui saw the essence in an instant. The other Waihawe didn't have any objections. They were not too anxious about Wei continent originally. Continuing to track the direction in which the 10 aliens disappeared, 5 waves of people were approaching. There are 3 places of life in the void, Tenyajin, Tenyi, and the Yi and Yi that follow closely behind, as well as the Holy Land Kunzhen who finally come. It's like a string of beads, woven into one body. Now is the time to compete in speed and time. Whoever can complete the encirclement first will have a chance to win. However, the Holy Land is still at a disadvantage, and the top Tenyajin are the most dangerous. They knew nothing and were completely trapped. In the central continent, the God Emperor Dragon looked at the will of all living beings and the members of the Trans-World Alliance. I just received the news from Lin Yi. The Kunzhen of the Holy Land have discovered the problem and are chasing the Wei and Yi of the weird continent. A war will definitely break out between them. So now we have to make a second counter-attack plan. Take the initiative to slow down our progress and prepare to face the Tenyajin. Pull until 10 strange beings arrive, and attack these Tenyajin together. Then wait for an opportunity to escape. Have you made up your mind? The members of the Superworld Alliance gathered together in an infinite torrent and started discussing. Let's take another look for now. Don't carry out this plan until the last moment. We still have a lot of time. Maybe there will be a turnaround, but I don't know for sure. The meaning of the Trans-World Alliance is also the meaning of my land of all living beings. It's not yet the point where we have to fight to the death. We still have a chance. Hearing this, Divine Emperor Long frowned slightly, but in the end he didn't say anything. After all, once a war breaks out, it is a battle of life and death. Failure means death. It involves too much. Taking a deep breath, the entire land of life fell into silence. 3 rays of light of different colors formed 3 giant hands, which were constantly grasping the endless river and moving upstream. I don't know when I will reach the real end of the upstream. The real people of the Holy Land exerted their terrifying power and directly opened a passage to the central continent, where it was originally located, empty. Dozens of figures descended on this empty space with an unparalleled aura. A series of gazes swept around, capturing the scattered traces in the empty. Finally, it turned into a stream of light and rushed upstream of the endless river. A chase is going on. The collision between the weird continent and the Holy Land became more and more intense, and the area of the weird continent became smaller and smaller. More than 30% of the area has been swallowed up by Lin Yi's eternal torrent. The army of the Holy Land, the strange army, and Lin Yi's torrent of eternal nature, the 3 parties competed and fell into a tangled battle. Huge black hands kept falling from the strange continent, frantically attacking the torrent of eternal nature controlled by Lin Yi. But the power of true life ignores everything. It seems that the big hand made of true life power cannot have any effect on true life without borders. At this time, the true life network on the Holy Land has also been mobilized. The power turned into pillars of light, surging out from the holes connected to the Holy Land, and landed heavily on the strange continent. Huge explosions continued to spread around. Fireworks continued to explode, and the entire strange continent was completely at a disadvantage. As time goes by, the situation in Weird Continent becomes worse and worse. The clones of Wei and Yi have all gathered in the center of Weird Continent. There was an inexplicable look in Amozingwe's eyes. Have you noticed that the person who attacked us has very special powers? All the weird essence will be lost in the torrent. It's not that he was consumed by the power of his true life, but he was simply sucked into another place. This person seems to be plundering the weird essence. I can feel that the weird essence in the entire weird ocean is constantly decreasing. The weird essence is another form of spiritual power. But it has the resentment of countless sentient beings, which cannot be transformed and absorbed by normal practitioners. Only the weird can use it. The person in front of me can actually do the impossible. Even those real people and sub-real people, after killing the weird, transformed into weird crystals. It also needs to go through a series of processing before it can become the power they master and absorb. This person seems to have skipped this step completely. I vaguely saw the traces of the supreme true fate. What do you think is going on? This person has a huge problem. He is definitely not from the Holy Land, said the devouring world weird thought coldly. Why not keep him in the weird continent? Wait until we have dealt with those guys from the Holy Land, then come and kill him. Find out what it is. Looking at his posture, he wants to destroy the entire weird continent. The essence of plundering the entire weird continent. Why not take advantage of the situation and directly activate the destruction seal on the weird continent? This was originally prepared for those guys from the Holy Land. Since a more valuable target has appeared, why not use it on him? The words of the devouring world ghost immediately won the approval of others. The ghosts agreed, and they made a decision the next moment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1138. The strange network on the entire strange continent began to undergo tremendous changes. The network was instantly connected to every corner of the continent, and the next moment, the strange continent suddenly began to collapse. With the center of the continent as the node, countless networks instantly shrank and sucked everything in. No matter what it was, it could not escape this bondage, and everything was compressed towards the center. A huge black sphere appeared in this endless strange ocean like a black hole. Everything happened so quickly that Lin Yi didn't react. He had been shrouded in the power of the true destiny. Although this power was extremely huge, it ultimately did not have any effect on him. This strange black sphere swallowed everything, and the strange continent shrank to the size of the moon in just a few seconds. As it shrank, the connection with the Holy Land seemed to be interrupted. And all this was not completely over, an infinite suction broke out from this strange black sphere. The surrounding strange ocean seemed to be attracted as well, and rushed towards this black sphere like a torrent. Looking at this scene, Lin Yi couldn't help but reveal a hint of weirdness in his eyes. The brilliance of the eternal nature still turned into a torrent and swept towards the black sphere in front of him. The violent power destroyed everything. Although it was protected by the true destiny, the torrent of the eternal nature could even rush into the inside of the sphere. But the substances in the sphere were very strange. No matter how the eternal nature washed them, they could not cause any damage. This resulted in the weird nature being unable to be exposed, and even the spiritual waves could not destroy the structure. This seemed to be an extremely compressed weird substance that could block the erosion of the spiritual waves. The current situation was that Lin Yi's power was ineffective against the black sphere, and this huge black sphere could not cause any harm to Lin Yi. Lin Yi frowned when he saw this situation. This change obviously interrupted his purpose of devouring the weird continent and increasing his spiritual wave limit. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but sigh, this is really troublesome. He looked around, the endless weird ocean, and the weird existence inside, were all sucked into the black sphere and became part of it. Seeing this, he suddenly had an idea, this is an opportunity, maybe we can gain something. The eternal torrent has changed. It is like a barrier, quickly covering the surroundings of the sphere. The power of the boundless destiny prevents the eternal torrent from being affected by the huge suction. The brilliance of the spiritual wave, combined with the power of the eternal nature, Any strange existence that falls into the eternal nature with the suction will become the target of attack. It will turn into ashes in a short time and be plundered of the strange essence. The huge sphere was originally intended to prevent Lin Yi from plundering the strange essence. Now it has become his best helper, and the changes in the strange continent cannot stop him. The strange clones have all been destroyed in the previous action. The destruction seal of the strange continent is not so easy to activate, and the price is that their clones will also be destroyed. At this time, Lin Yi only needs to wait quietly, and the upper limit of the spiritual wave will continue to increase until it reaches the limit. Time passed by minute, and Lin Yi didn't know how long it had passed. The land of life that was heading upstream had already felt the huge pressure from behind. 10 faint auras have locked onto them, and it seems that they will catch up with them at any time. At this time, Shendi Long and others have received news from Xuanhuan. The group of true beings in the Holy Land have confirmed that they have discovered the plan of the strange people in the strange continent. Now all we have to do is to persist until they really meet and the war begins. That is our only chance of survival. But at our current speed, it is only a matter of time before we are caught up. The Emperor in the Void represented the Void Alliance and said slowly. So I have an idea. Shendi Long looked at the will of all living beings. Your true destiny is condensed from the pure hearts and principles of all living beings, and does not contain the eternal nature and rules extended from the land of life itself. I hope you will give up the land of all living beings and take your true destiny into the central continent. Then, we will turn the land of all living beings into a huge bomb. To intercept the 10 sub-true beings behind. Block them for a while and buy us time to escape. Hearing this, the will of all living beings was stunned for a moment. This proposal was a bit shocking. It's not impossible to do this, but the price is too heavy. It's probably not appropriate for our land of all living things to bear it. Half of the central continent belongs to you. If we are caught up, destruction is only a matter of time. If it can be exchanged, I will let the central continent perform this task without hesitation. The Emperor Dragon said firmly. The true destiny of the central continent contains the accumulation of countless years of the central continent, and even the power of the central continent itself is in the true destiny. Once we give up the central continent, the true destiny will collapse immediately. This consequence is likely to cause the death of most of the lives in the central continent. At that time, our strength will naturally be weakened, and in the end we won't even have a chance to turn the tables. Only the true destiny of your land of all living things is the most special. You are the creators of the true destiny, and the land of life is just your accessory. Even if you lose the land of life, you will not die, and the true destiny will not collapse. We will still maintain the combat power of the full victory period. At least there is one chance to fight for our lives. The members of the Void Superworld Alliance also looked at the will of all living beings. We can also provide everything you need. Even if it is the origin of the land of life, we can extract it for you. The will of all living beings fell into deep thought, with countless thoughts discussing inside, and finally they made a decision. This is the only way. Let's start migrating. As the land of all living beings agreed to the proposal, the entire civilization began to prepare. One after another huge fortresses slowly rose from it, and under the control of the will of all living beings, they formed a huge three-dimensional structure. At the same time, the true destiny of the land of all living beings also disappeared in the land of life in an instant. Under the leadership of the will of rebirth, the true destiny has appeared in the hearts of all the lives in the land of all living beings. The magnificent glory of the true destiny enveloped this migrating fortress. Any existence that wants to attack them will be counterattacked by the true destiny. The will of all living beings has made all preparations, and the huge migration operation has begun. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1139. Update the latest chapter of the Wanchai View I created as soon as possible. Where the two places of life are connected, a huge passage slowly appears. The migration fortress, shrouded in golden light, quickly crossed the passage and arrived at the central continent. At this time, the central continent was also undergoing a major retreat, withdrawing from a huge and empty area, all used to house the lives of all living beings. This area reaches half of the entire continent, enough to accommodate all living beings. After doing all this, the top leaders of various places of life in the central continent's land of darkness gathered here again. Activate true life and transform the entire land of sentient beings. You must have the power of true life to have an impact on them. God Emperor Dragon said with a solemn expression. Of the three true lives of the world that we have control over, the entropy increase of the void is the most powerful. The true destiny of the central continent and the land of life, as an auxiliary, is mainly the life of entropy. They did not reject the plans and suggestions of the divine Emperor Dragon. The majestic three true lives slowly rose up and quickly enveloped the land of all living beings. The land of all living beings quickly changed under the power of three huge true lives. The sky, the earth, time, and space, everything is becoming chaotic, and the power of entropy is gathering inside, leading everything to destruction. Purification and balance have become the outer shell of the land of sentient beings, accumulating and binding the chaotic power inside so that it will not explode immediately. At the same time, this force is compressed, allowing its power to accumulate until it reaches a certain critical point. A long time has passed since all of this was done. Behind the place of life, 10 points of light have appeared. They are getting closer and closer, from the original distance of 10 stars to the distance of 10 moons. The looming crisis is constantly stimulating everyone's nerves, and a crisis seems to be coming. The members of the Divine Emperor Dragon, the will of all living beings, and the Trans-World Alliance had long since noticed the 10 figures chasing after them. There are at most a dozen void days left, and they will cross enough coordinate distance to launch an attack on us. Fortunately, we completed the preparations in advance, otherwise we would have had to fight to the death. God Emperor Dragon breathed a sigh of relief. The will of all beings said slowly, when will you release the weapon? Now, God Emperor Dragon said with misty eyes. After saying that, this place full of destructive power for all living beings has been placed under the endless river. After putting down the land of all living beings, there were only 2 radiant tentacles left in the central continent and the void. However, their speed did not slow down, and they still clung to the endless river and spread towards the upper reaches. Time passed in the blink of an eye, and more than 10 time and space days passed, and 10 figures caught up to the location where they released all living beings. Looking at the land of abandoned sentient beings, it clings to the bottom of the endless river, like a fruit. Fangxing and others who were chasing were slightly stunned. They left a place of life behind. Why? Questions were left in their minds, and then Fangxing raised his hand and waved. In an instant, he turned into a huge silver giant, reaching out to grab the place of huge sentient beings. Just when he was about to capture this place of life, one of the Tenyajin suddenly changed his expression and said, "Stop, there's danger." But it's too late, the silver giant palm has already affected the balance of the entire land of life. The next moment, endless light exploded from the land of life. The power of entropy pours out like a torrent, and everything that comes into contact with this brilliance is decaying and chaotically collapsing. Even the endless river cannot avoid this ending. Similarly, the ever-changing dimensions, time and space, energy, matter, and all tangible and intangible existences around the endless river are heading for destruction. In an instant, the area with countless coordinates turned into a mess. Everything was distorted here, and the Tenyajin were staggered and scattered by this majestic force. They shook their own strength crazily, resisting the torrent that was still raging. At this moment, Countless explosions were erupting at every point in this area. There was even a Yajin who was directly involved in a dark void and disappeared, and he didn't know where he was thrown. Only the stars, which exerted all their strength at the beginning, were like a giant, frozen in this chaotic torrent. He was consuming huge amounts of power every moment, which made his heart sink slightly. This was clearly an explosion of power at the cost of destroying a place of life, and they could not ignore it. Faced with this sudden and huge danger, the 10 Yajin were all terrified. Each Yajin is bursting with the power of his true life, resisting the sudden attack. 10 brilliant rays of light condensed into one, and the huge light directly fixed the nearby chaotic area. Yajin, who was caught in the torrent, had already used his own strength to rush out. The range they can settle in is limited, and a large number of areas are completely in a state of chaos. The violent rules of eternal nature and energy space-time disrupt everything. It would be impossible to calm down here in a short period of time, and they were completely blocked in this area. At this time, behind them, Kishan and other 10-headed beasts were quietly approaching here. They had also noticed a huge chaotic area ahead. Duomu said slowly, "Look, there is a problem ahead." Hearing this, all the aliens looked forward. Kishan said coldly, "Duomu, take a closer look, what's going on inside?" Duomu's eyes flashed with countless brilliance, as if he could see through time and space. After a long while, a trace of solemnity appeared in his eyes. "Fangxing and the others are trapped. This is probably the work of those lands of life. But there is a big problem now. There are 10 Yajin in the chaotic time and space, not the 6 originally said." Hearing this, the 10 aliens showed a trace of surprise in their eyes. "This is an opportunity. We can ambush them in front of them. They will never expect us to catch up and ambush them in front of them. They are now trapped in chaos. It will take at least a long time for them to come out. This is enough time for us to calmly set up a killing game. We don't even need to ambush too far, just at the front edge of this chaos. As long as they come out, we will immediately launch concentrated fire, and we will definitely be able to kill 2 of them on the spot. Even if they have 10 Yajin now, we have the upper hand and have enough chances to win, but it's more difficult." Kishan's cold will sounded, "What do you think?" The other aliens all showed murderous intent in their eyes. The House of Everything I Created. Author, Yinian Luan Tianji. Chapter 1140. We can give it a try. The worst that can happen is a draw. They can't do anything to us. No matter how we calculate it, we have the upper hand. All the aliens reached a consensus, and they quickly rushed to the chaotic area. They were very fast. The explosion of the land of life had a wide range. It took them some time to reach the vicinity of the chaotic area. Then, they stopped. They already had the coordinates of the chaotic area, and the distance was meaningless to them. I saw 10 huge forces gathered together in an instant, and then directly tore open the border of the chaos and drilled into a dark hole. The next moment, they had arrived in front of the chaotic area. They avoided the chaotic area by jumping at the spiritual level. First enter the spiritual level, and then enter the area where the endless river is located from the spiritual level. At this time, they had quietly arrived in front of the chaotic area. A vague wave hid them, and waves of power surged in their bodies. The majestic power continued to gather, and they were condensing the true power that could destroy everything. Time passed by minute, and there was no concept of time in the chaotic area. Everything passed quickly, or maybe very slowly. A brilliant light suddenly appeared at the border of the chaotic area. A huge hole was opened in the chaotic area, and a figure walked out of it first. This figure flashed with a golden light, and there was a huge halo behind him, with worlds flashing one after another inside. His whole body was golden, like a golden statue, full of a majestic and eternal breath. The mighty power surged wildly, and his true destiny burned to the extreme. This true destiny power seemed to be able to turn everything into nutrients for the world. At the moment he stepped out of the chaotic area, a black hole appeared in front of him, and a colorful light rushed out of it. It directly submerged him, and there was no time to resist. The halo covering him exploded directly, and countless worlds were destroyed at the same time. This golden existence was also blown into ashes in an instant. Behind him, there were several figures who were about to walk out when they were submerged in the colorful torrent of light. No, there's an ambush. Without any hesitation, they directly burst out the second stage of their true destiny and activated all their foundation. Rays of light bloomed one after another, and only 7 escaped the coverage of the torrent. The other 2 figures were completely submerged. Everything came so fast that everyone felt cold in their hearts. Nothing was left after the torrent, and a hole appeared in this chaotic space and time. 7 figures quickly gathered, and the majestic power enveloped them, hiding in the chaos and quickly moving away. They did not try to break through the chaotic area, but used the chaos as a cover to conceal their whereabouts. Outside the chaotic area, Kishan sneered complacently. Okay, we have killed 3 subreals at once, so our chances of winning are even greater now. At this time, the multi-purpose will slowly sounded. I'm afraid it's not that simple. These subreals led by Fangxing have already hidden deep in the chaotic area and are not planning to come out. Is it impossible for us to ambush them again? Even if we attack by force, it won't work. They are completely united. The mutual blessing of true destiny cannot be broken in a short time. What should we do now? The multi-purpose thought echoed in the hearts of the various people. A strange person shrouded in shadows said with a cold will. It's very simple, surround them and don't let them run away. Disintegrate the chaotic area time and space bit by bit, and continue to reduce their range. Launch the power of concentrated fire at the right time and completely eliminate them. The eyes of the various people looked at it, revealing a trace of thought. You can try, Kishan said coldly. Soon, the various people began to mobilize their power, sweeping away the chaotic area time and space bit by bit, and gradually reducing the activity area of Fangxing and others. In the chaotic area, Fangxing, Qi Yao and others all looked livid. Damn it, why would there be a weird ambush us? How did they get here? And there were 10 of them when they appeared. Definitely something is wrong. Qi Yao's will was cold, and he looked at everyone. It's no use getting angry. What we should think about now is, what should we do? Fangxing said coldly. What else can we do? Just hold on and wait for help. The 3 subreals of Fanlun have fallen. The Holy Land will definitely notice it, and the real people will never sit idly by. Reinforcements will be sent to support us soon. When the time comes, we will rush up and hold them back, and we can surround and annihilate them with the reinforcements and take revenge. Hearing this, everyone fell into silence. This was one of the few options. If they didn't do this, they would have to retreat, but they would probably be punished when they returned to the Holy Land. Everyone was in a bad mood. They had come here excitedly. As a result, they were ambushed before they found the real boss, and lost 3 companions. This had not happened for countless years. At this time, the last group of the 5 groups of people, the Holy Land, suddenly stopped. I only heard Tuogu say, not good, the Brahma wheel has fallen, they are in danger, and they may die. Dayaja's face was extremely solemn. It seems that we can't be so slow. Weird Continent has put all its efforts into this battle. If we hadn't encountered a large army, Fan Lun and his men would never have perished. I'll lead the way. Dayaja's voice fell, and he raised his hand and waved forward. A brilliant light burst out from his hand, directly tearing a huge hole. The hole was connected to nowhere, and it seemed endless at a glance. He took the lead and stepped into it, and the other groups of Zhen behind him hurriedly followed. When they came to the outside world, they appeared under an endless river. At this time, Deja once again waved his power and tore a passage to the next place. Every time they passed a passage, they seemed to be closer to the chaotic area. However, Deja's exertion of power to tear the passage consumed a lot. Every time a passage was opened, the breath would weaken. After tearing the passage 5 times in a row, Deja stopped the action. He looked at the others. "It's your turn, I can't last much longer." The others nodded slightly, and Tuogu took his place, bursting out with boundless power, and continued to tear the passage. After a few times, they had surpassed the weird reinforcements and ran ahead of them. Now the 5 weird Enyi have become the last batch on this string of beads. At this time, in the void, Lin Yi's Wanchaiwu appeared in the void city.